Happy Devils Monday. This is the State of the Fan Address, a special edition. Episode 97, analyzing Devils special teams. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief Nick Villano. We're streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. And oh, do we have a special guest tonight? You've requested. I've watched the Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Everyone wanting Bryce Salvador's analysis. We have him on the phone right now. Pleased to welcome to the State of the Fan Address, a good friend of the podcast, Bryce Salvador. Bryce, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, guys. How about yourself?
Oh, we're doing wonderful, Bryce. The Devils came back from their pause for just a week ago today, and it's been quite the week, huh?
It sure has. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster. I think all of us expected maybe they would come out flat, but that wasn't the case. They came out like gangbusters, and then last couple games when we thought, Nico coming back, he would add some energy and that they would probably steamroll Buffalo. Buffalo wasn't having that, and then we went into Washington and had a great start, but I know we're going to get into it. As special teams let the Devils down in that game, so it's whatever we thought was going to happen this season has gone the opposite way, is what I can kind of sum up the first 13 games.
It's been a wild season. The one thing I will say is this team is fun, and I'm 100% for that. I love that they're fun because they've been a little flat the past couple of years. The wins are exhilarating. The losses, you always feel like the team's at least in it and that they could score at any time. So I love this team. Bryce, we have a ton to talk about. We talk about captaincy. I want to talk to you about Zajac. But let's go on the ice first. We're talking about the on-the-ice product. You brought up special teams. The special teams is the difference probably in 4 to 6 points taken off the Devils' standings right now, specifically the penalty kill. You were a penalty killer when you were up until the end of your career. I was looking at analysis of the Bryce Salvador 15-16 penalty kill. So I'm just curious of what's your thought? What's your thought on the penalty kill? Is this fixable? Is this personnel? I'm just curious as a former penalty killer yourself, somebody with that mentality, what are your thoughts on the New Jersey Devils penalty kill?
Well, yeah, this has obviously been a sore spot for the players. We'll start there, and then the coaching staff, and then the fans, and it's just something that no one expected to have happen this season because it's been a strong part of the Devils, play. Alain Nazardine has done an excellent job over the last, since he's been with this team. It's been a top 10 penalty kill for the last 3 years. I think fourth a couple seasons ago, and so what we're seeing is a great example of the importance of chemistry, and I've been having some fun going back and forth with a lot of the Devils fans, and so I've really enjoyed that, kind of talking about the penalty kill. And what I've really been trying to stress, guys, is when you see something just so uncharacteristic of what you've been normally used to seeing, and that being a strong penalty kill, it goes beyond the structure, it goes beyond the system. It comes down to how are the guys making their instinctual reads? And I made, just kind of also posted something when we went to the Cup run in 2011-12. We had the best penalty kill record, which is still the best to date since the NHL started tracking. And I just remember knowing exactly what everybody was going to do on the ice, in some cases before they were even going to do it. I spent a lot of time with Volchenkov. If he put his stick in this lane, I would react this way. If it was Travis or different things that guys would do, you start to understand their tendencies. And so when you have, like I posted 7 guys on the penalty kill that weren't on it last year as a top 10, you have to build the chemistry from scratch. And so, and that's what we're seeing. And when you were up against arguably one of the most dynamic power plays in the last decade, and that being Washington with Backstrom and Ovi and Carlson and Kuznetsov, it's illogical to expect. I saw some of the comments that Maltsev is going to make the instinctual read to leave Ovi in front of the net to quickly get back up to Oshie before he shoots. Like, that's the first time he's ever seen that, right? So there's that hesitation. And so, but how does Maltsev get the experience? How does he learn? Well, by being put in those situations, right? And that's the way it happens. And so the Devils are going through a little bit of that phase where, look, we're in that learning how to win, but we're also trying to get some of these new players, these younger players, the experience in situations that the Devils are going to need them to be in, right? So you've got Bash and you've got McLeod also on the penalty kill. These guys are going to be cornerstones of the penalty kill in the next several years, just from what I can see now and how strong of a season they're having, their work ethic, their ability to defend and compete. So, but again, those guys aren't going to make the best reads right now, or the reads quick enough, no matter what. They know what to do, but there's always going to be that hesitation. And so that's just kind of, really for me, the main reason why the Devils have struggled there. And I put a little stat up there over the last several seasons. Like, the Devils have never, had this many new pieces to start. Now, Travis is coming back. Nico spent some time there. Paul Mary's, this is a new look for him where he knows that, he's going to be a big part of the penalty kill. And just that alone changes your preparation, right? Last year, Paul Mary was averaging 13 seconds, a game on the penalty kill. Now he's a minute and a half. So how he prepares, how he, mental energy, as I would always say, and I kind of always poke fun at myself. And like, I just know that any game where all of a sudden I was going to have to, have a shift or two on the power play, I was done. It affected my game because I'm just not in that mental space enough to understand the reads quick enough, right? So then you immediately have pressure on yourself to make reads that you just are not used to doing. And so, and then now, unfortunately, Devils have had, no time to practice. They had the layoff, and now the penalty kill is struggling. And so then guys lose confidence, and then guys try that much harder. And so you'll see some of that as well, where guys they're just making the wrong reads because they're trying too hard because of the lack of success they've had to individually. So, but that's just kind of high level from the chemistry perspective and trying to, how do we work our way through this? Unfortunately, it's just going to take time. These guys need the reps, and being the weird year that this is, their reps are coming in games. There's no practices, and so that's a challenge that we're going to have to live through. Because I'm just using Malta. It could be a lot of guys. Paul Mary, Bashin, McLeod, Sharangovich is up there too. I think he's got the third most ice time as a forward, killing penalties. Like, I think I told you guys off the air. Like, I got to the point where I knew tendencies of the forwards. Well, whether it was Backstrom on the half wall, okay, I start to notice things like, okay, he stick handles 3-4 times before he makes a pass, right? Or if he's looking this way, how are his toes pointed in his skates? That's also a tell, right? Kuznetsov, I know he's more often than not, he's going to pass. He's not shooting. So I'm going to cheat on the pass or make him think I'm cheating, that he's going to shoot, knowing that he's going to make a pass. So I'm going to rearrange my stick right at that last second. This is chess. Split-second decisions that have critical consequences that guys just need the reps and to be able to make those reads, I would say, quicker. And so, like I said, it's with everything else going on, like going so well with the Devils, like you said, it's been fun. It's been energetic. I thoroughly enjoy watching the Devils. Like a lot of the things that we saw over the last several seasons where you just expected them to lose. Now you're like, wow, these guys got fight, got resilience. Everybody's coming to compete. So it's been really enjoyable. And unfortunately, the special teams have, been not, the cornerstone that we wish they would be.
Bryce, just an observation on the penalty kill, because that's been the hot topic on our podcast in the last about week, because of they're giving up many goals at an alarming rate. So I went back because I saw a few things while watching live, but I went back to all those goals in the past 3 games because of the penalty kill. And one thing I noticed, aside from out of position, sometimes I feel that, I actually saw some of the players, they had their backs to the play, and also there was nothing that resembled a box, in that high slot area, that high danger zone. As a matter of fact, it almost seemed like they were playing a 1-3 zone defense or something. It didn't resemble anything like that. I noticed some of the forwards were pinching over to the other side, cheating, not taking care of the defenseman on the point. I'm just seeing a lot of different things. Maybe it's what you're saying, the reads, but is there anything that the coaching staff can do to kind of streamline the penalty kill, where it just make it very basic, since there's no, really full practices, or, with the COVID, are the players really ready to play? I don't know, because there's so many unknowns. Is there anything the coaches can do to kind of streamline it? Because right now, I don't even see, as an observation from a fan, I don't see anything that resembles a system or as what Lindy said, structure.
Well, I could tell you that the structure's there. There's a system. There's no way, the Devils didn't all of a sudden say, hey, we're going to just change our structure and how we kill. You see a lot of teams now go more into a diamond, so the box rotates, depending, because a lot of teams are going with the high quarterback in the middle. But every power play presents different challenges. And so when you're against Washington, for example, there's just so many threats. And typically what, the Devils will do, or even when I was killing, is that your weak side winger, being the right winger, you're cheating on Ovi, right? Like if Ovi is on, like that weak side winger, that's your responsibility. And so what you saw on the one power play goal, Maltsov, he follows Ovi all the way down to the crease, right? Yep. You only do that when Ovi's on the ice. That's not something that you do, with any other power play that I can think of, right? Unless you maybe Tampa Bay, where you got Stamkos, or you got, Kucherov, where they're both they're one-timers, right? You might cheat out. But in some of those situations, now your forwards are getting spread apart. Okay, so if you're trying to take away Ovi, then your left winger's got to be very strategic that he can't get pulled too far over to, say, defend Kuznetsov, who has the puck, or if it's Backstrom, that's on the other half wall. Because as soon as you now get spread apart, now you got that middle, right? So the middle is wide open, and so it kind of gets down to reads. And I was going to go over that one goal there tomorrow during the pregame show, but it comes down to if you're looking at the high tip, where Oshie tips it in from the high slot, you would say, okay, well, the read maybe Pavel doesn't go so close to Kuznetsov, because Kuznetsov's he's not a shooter, he's a disher, right? But maybe, like, but maybe the rule is to go down there. I haven't, unfortunately been able to talk to, many of the coaching staff. So I'm just making, just read my own guess. So I'm not saying that these are the exact trigger moments that the Devils have in their systems, but sometimes, like I said, it's chess. So, in that situation, maybe Pavel creeps a little bit too close to Kuznetsov. He makes the pass, and now, Pavel isn't able to take that direct route back to the slot to block that shot. And then if your other winger's pulled wide because he's defending Ovi, right, that's where you kind of give up the middle slot. So you might have to, make a different read there. But like I said, I know people talk about, the power play goal in the Buffalo game at home, and I'll break that down tomorrow as well. And I'll just kind of show how it's a read based on stick placements, based on how Reinhart loses himself. And so you just got to be able to outthink the opposition. And sometimes it just becomes challenging because, like I said, Sammy and PK, they had, Sammy's first game. He's trying to figure things out. PK, he's playing with every different guy right now, right? He's kind of an anchor. So, when Volchi and I were on the ice, like I believe it was pretty much Volchi and myself all the time. And so, people have been asking me, well, geez, you don't have Greener back. Does that make a difference? And well, it does from the chemistry perspective, right? I just keep going back to chemistry. Greener was the guy that anchored the penalty kill, I think, for the last 4 or 5, whatever that's going to be, maybe since I've been gone. And so everybody else, so Greener would just have the tendencies of every single PK on the ice down pat. And that's how I was, right? I just knew what everybody was going to do at every specific moment. Not that saying we weren't going to still give up high danger scoring chances and goals and stuff like that, or make the wrong reads. It's just that unfortunately, Devils are having to learn live, on the fly, on the go, and that's just it's a tough way to have to really work on your special teams. It's uncharacteristic. It's anomaly, right? This is not something that we all hope will ever happen again. And unfortunately for the Devils, this is special teams. And you guys have been hearing me say it on this podcast. It comes down to chemistry, and the power play will adjust quicker than the penalty kill because there's more returning pieces. All right. And I just always simplify it down to that. And then once the penalty kill, get some confidence back, you'll start to see that the guys make the reads better. They put the sticks in the right place. They know exactly when to go. That's all you can say, guys. I know everyone wants a, secret sauce. They just want this to change overnight. And
fix it, Bryce, please.
Yeah, fix it. But it doesn't matter what system, what structure, who's on the ice at this point, because you just need the guys, one, to get some confidence back. And so they're going to hopefully have to stay, for a while, they got to take very minimal penalties. And when they do take some penalties, hopefully it's, Dell or, Big Mac are going to make some monstrous saves, build some confidence. I just hope that the Devils' 5-on-5 game doesn't suffer or start to deteriorate because everyone's a little bit apprehensive of taking penalties. And, that to me, that's my bigger concern than actually, the percentage of the Devils' penalty kill is just, I don't want to start affecting the guys, other parts of the guys' game, and because there's a lot of forward growth that's happened. But I know when I've been in some ruts on the, when you don't have streaks where the penalty kill wasn't going good and I've, making mistakes or not making the right reads, you take pride in that. For me, the penalty kill, that's where I always said, that's where I bring value to the team. It's like my honor to kill off that penalty. So as soon as you start feeling that you're not contributing in how you feel is your strength to the team, right, that starts to affect your other parts of your game. And so for me, that's more where I'm concerned, for the Devils being a young team and the growth that we've seen.
So I wanna spin it or like turn it more towards a positive light because there's a lot to like about this team so far this year. They're winning more games than we thought they would. We're coming off a rough weekend, so sorry, Bryce, we had to talk to you after a couple of losses, but there is a lot of positives. But one of the positives that did come over the weekend, Nico Hischier was named the next captain of the New Jersey Devils. Bryce, last time we talked to you in January, we talked about the captaincy specifically. Obviously, you're a former captain. I believe you spent 3 years as captain of the Devils, right?
Yes.
So you know what it's like. You also transitioned them into kind of a new era almost, which is kind of what Nico's doing. So I just kind of want you to talk about first, I want you to tell me, they made a big deal about the moment that Nico found out he was becoming captain. Do you have a story surrounding when you found out you were becoming captain?
Yes, well, it's exactly like how Nico explained it. It's everyone thinks that you're told weeks in advance, and but no, it's sprung upon you. Like for myself, it was right after the lockout. Zach Brise didn't re-sign back here, and then so you started to kind of think, well, geez, who's going to be the captain? Is it going to be Patty? And then you start thinking, geez, like, is it going to be me? Right? And then you start kind of hearing things, but you never really fully process that it could be you, right? Because it's just you don't want to assume something like that. It doesn't happen because I think it would be such a letdown emotionally that I don't think even if you're hearing it until that moment happens, you'll never process it. And I think it was a couple days, before the season started, we just, hey, we're having a meeting, right? It was like that. And then it was kind of announced, Lou was in there and all that. And then the word I always use, it's like, when it hits you, even if you think that it's going to happen, it's just a surreal moment. And you heard Nico use that exact same word, because there's nothing that you can at that moment conceptualize or process or articulate that how you're feeling at that moment. Everything just flushes through and you're like, oh my God, like, is this really happening? Yeah. And so, for me, it was a surreal moment, and it was special. And, for me, I was 36 years old, different position of my career versus Nico, 22. So for me, it was more of just kind of really fulfilling and kind of just, making all the sacrifices, my family, my parents, everybody else on the way. And you're just like, wow, like, this is, what it was all for. Like, this dream came true. Captaincy is an individual accolade, but it means so much more than just for yourself. You're representing the team, the organization. It's an important part. And I remember Lou saying, Bryce, you had to know it was coming. But it was kind of, like I said, it's one of those things you just don't ever think. You don't think this one forward. Like, you don't jump ahead and just assume this type of thing. So you just and that's why even when I was talking about it for Nico at 22, and especially the way that it was presented to him, they didn't let him know, they sprung it on him. Like I said, it kind of made me feel like you reminisce on when it happened to me and have the chills and the tingles, and it was just a good process. The way that the Devils did it this time around, Nico was completely different. Back to when I was named in 2012-13, social media is so big now. It was the way they prepared it. We had messages that, I created in advance for him. Then obviously you guys see some of the productions that the Devils did a fabulous job of creating. And, that's kind of how it's done now. So I was surprised that we were able to keep it a secret for as long as it happened, because he was injured, and then he was in the COVID protocol, and then you didn't want it to somehow come from you, like myself, that it slipped out. Always trying to watch what you're saying. People are asking you, and what do you think, Sal? And and you got to give them every different possibility who you think it might be. So, but just a great moment for Nico when we bring this back to him, and I just I'm almost positive I said it on air last year, when the season was getting, when we were in, might have been February, March, or just when I was doing some analysis on just after the Taylor Hall trade. And this is what I talked about on the air. Again, it's just that after Taylor Hall was out of the lineup, his game got better. There was no drop off. And so that showed me that he can be a driver, is the word I use. He could take this team. He led all the forwards in ice time after Taylor Hall was gone. He was the second best face-off win percentage, something like that. I think he had the highest rate of takeaways, right? So the work ethic was there, and the face-off and the compete, and then he was producing at I think the same pace or a little bit higher. And so when you see a 21-year-old do that, and with the uncertainty of where everything was going to go, coach was fired. Now one of your best players is, traded. Well, arguably your best player is traded. And then you're the former first rounder that, needs to just, you need to grow up now. Yeah. And show that, you can be the future of this team. And so, and that's when I just saw that, when he strung those games together, I think it was like 30 some games after the Taylor Hall trade, that like this kid is showing me that he has leadership qualities, and he can handle the pressure of being a number one guy.
So does this change anything? Does the wearing the C, does it add pressure? Does that add weight? Does it add, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, do you feel solidified? Like, does it change anything, or do you expect Nico, and did you yourself just kind of go on as business as usual?
Well, we obviously, Nico and myself, we were in different places, right? Yeah. So at the end of my career, I was 36. I knew what my identity was. Like, there was no changing me, right? Even though I'm coming off arguably the Bobby Orr, postseason, what it was, 12, 13 points, whatever it was, right? And maybe I thought I was going to be all of a sudden an offensive defenseman come next year. But, the reality of it is I knew who I was at 36 years old. So, so just the fact that, there was no pressure, or I just knew myself, like I wasn't changing. So I didn't have to worry about that, and everybody knew who I was. So no one was expecting me to all of a sudden, hey Sal, we're down 2 goals. You got to go out there and score us one, right? That expectation wasn't there. My role was clearly defined. So now I'm not going to speak for him, but he's 22, and I think, he's going to feel a little bit more pressure because he has his whole career ahead of him. And so, not that he can't handle that, but it's just a different situation. Where the organization is younger, he is going to be the face of the organization for a very long time. And so that does bring responsibility, but everything that I've seen from him, he's going to handle it excellent. He's going to wear that C with pride. You heard, all the comments, when he was signing that, there was no hesitation. Like, New Jersey is where he wants to be. Let's just get this deal done. Let's not have any drama. And so you start seeing little things like that where, could have been drama for unnecessary drama and distraction. That wasn't with him. Right? He's like, I know where I want to be. And so I looked at that as very encouraging as well. Another tell that this guy is, he's a stand-up character, and he thinks more than just himself. And so, you have those traits already in a 22-year-old. It's only going to go up from here. And so hopefully, unfortunately for him, he's still waiting for his first win. So I know the pressure of that. Like, I was fortunate the guys got me, my first win in the very first game. I remember that. So, so I know that'll be a little bit of a sore spot for the boys in the locker, not necessarily for Nico. I could tell you right now, everybody in there wants to get him the first win. And so if you look back to the first game of Buffalo, everyone's like, geez, the guys came out flat in Buffalo. It's really hard to portray the emotional, just emotional tone or just energy and everything that's around being named the captain literally right before you're about to play, right? Everyone's just was out of sorts. We saw that, right? Everyone's, for that little few moments, okay, well, geez, we want to win for him. Like, it just, that little focus in the thought process, just throws things off, right? And so, and we just, Buffalo was, look, they were not happy with happened in Buffalo, for not just on the ice, but we'll say off the ice too. And, they came in with a real, pissed off attitude. And they came in here and they wanted to reign, they wanted to just squash this whole game and just all the emotions and the events and everything around this. And, and the Devils just unfortunately didn't have the right mindset to be able to handle that. And it's just tough, right? You got to remember that there's always that emotional and the human side of the player. And I tell you, it's real. If you don't have the mindset in the right frame, it could take you 2 periods to wake up. And that's what happened to the Devils. They were much better in the third period in that game, but it was 2 periods too late. So, but it's, I'm just, like I said, I'm just very great. It's a great moment for the organization and for the fans.
Bryce, so we've got some questions on social media. I'll start off with Craig Resta on Facebook Live. He says, "Can you ask Bryce if he thinks that the upset in chemistry a bit because Nico and Travis just came back?"
Like you just talking in the overall play.
Yeah.
Assuming that's what he's talking about. Yeah. Like, look, whenever you add a couple significant pieces back to the lineup, it's gonna take an adjustment period. Travis was on the wing. Excuse me. Travis was on the wing on the first game there that he came back. Nico's coming back. You're trying to figure out who's he playing with. Then you saw Coach Ruff move, Palmieri around a bit, change up some lines, add some grit to that top line, he felt. So now everyone's kind of trying to feel out, where do I fit in again? Right. And so you're going to have that adjustment. It's normal. It's common. And so there's that'll take some games and Nico's, he's still rusty. Travis is still rusty. They've been out the longest. So that'll take a little bit of time, as we saw that, you can see some of that rust in their game, but it's nothing to be, concerned about. And if not for how I've seen, the coaching staff, Lindy Ruff manage the lines and reward guys and put them in situations to have success and guys respond. Maybe you'd be a little bit more concerned with, some of the lack of the chemistry in the lines and with these two guys coming back, or just, mainly Nico coming back. But I'm fully confident that, this is just a time thing that may take longer than everybody wants, just because we keep going back. There's just no practice. And so you have to have an open mind and just not, it's going to be tough for everybody to just say, hey, like, oh, it's the systems, or it's the lines, or it's this or that. And you have to appreciate that everything happens so fast on the ice, and you did 10 times faster than even when I played and when I retired about 5 years ago. Like, the reads and the instinctual chemistry that needs to be there, it's unbelievable. And that's what I noticed when I was between the benches, just when I got back, that close to the game. I was like I was flabbergasted in how quick the game had become. And so you can have the best players, and if they're not, they don't have enough reps with each other, they're going to put pucks in the wrong spot, right? They're not going to, they're not going to buy time enough for their winger to get in the right position, because they just haven't, they haven't played enough yet together. They haven't had that feel. They have not enough touches in practice, not enough touches on the power play, right? Not enough reads on the penalty kill. And this isn't to make excuses by any means. And, there's other teams that have players coming in and out of the lineup. But this is a young team. And I would argue with anyone to say that the Devils didn't, had the most adversity and most changes over the last, say, 18 months, whatever. Actually, maybe it was like 2 years. With general manager, coaches, trades, not making the return to play. Then your future captain's got a broken leg; he doesn't come back, and it just. Then you got a whole new, coaching staff changes. So there's a lot that's happened, with this organization that in the end will build resilience and really, I think, help foster some real growth. It's one thing to say, hey, we want our players to grow, or we're in a development mode, or we're in that, learning to win phase. And not really be doing it. So I think we can all say that isn't the case, right? The Devils are, yes, they want to win, and they want to win. They want to get back to winning quick. Everyone wants that. But all the time that they genuinely want to do this right, because in my opinion, you have to. Like, these kids are young once, and this is your core. You're winning or losing for the next, we'll say, 10 years with these core players. So if you're not going to spend the time now and have a crappy power play, have a crappy penalty kill, and get these kids their experience, you can't expect it to be there in 3-4 years when you need them, right, to make the right reads. And so that's, the balancing act, that we're going to see from Fitzy and Coach Ruff. Like, how do they really manage this process and, try to make sure you're having enough success, but then all of a sudden not just packing in the development and bringing a bunch of players in just to kind of have a few more wins that season, right? Because at the end of the day, I want Maltsev on the penalty kill, right? Even if he's going to make the wrong reads right now. I want that. I want McLeod, right? If, we hear Coach Ruff's, his philosophy is he wants his best players on the penalty kill, so that when there's a turnover, he wants it in Paul Mary's hands, so he can score that shorthanded goal. Well, to do that, we got to play Paul Mary on the penalty kill. I'm not saying that he's not smart enough to do that, but it's a different role. It's going to take him time, right? So, so there's just all those moving parts where, like I said, fans don't want to hear that, and I get that. And even as in my new role, we want wins because we all love to talk about wins. And it's just a better environment. It's more fun. But I'm trying to just, even with the success that the Devils have had, that, quite frankly, nobody thought they would have at this point with their record, we still have to remember what phase this organization is in. And in my opinion, they're doing a great job of balancing that development with winning.
So I want to talk about Travis Zajac, because obviously he spent 1,000 games. By the way, I thought I would have put money on that you played 1,000 games. I guess I don't realize how hard it is to get to 1,000 games. You played 14 seasons in the league, and you didn't get to 1,000 games. But Zajac getting to 1,000 games. I kind of just want you to just talk about what was Travis Zajac like with the guys, and how special is that 1,000 games number?
Well, it's so special, right? It's only I don't know what the exact number is, but it's an elite club, and you need at least 14 seasons generally. 12 between 12 and 16 seasons to kind of just really do it right, because you're going to have injuries, and what Travis, among being a really versatile player, right? His first part of his career, he was healthy. And generally he was healthy. A few of the injuries he had were, kind of at the start of the season where he was able to come in and finish, the season. So, where I had, just the style that I played, I was crashing and banging, and, I missed a season just, from, vestibular issues, and, so I missed a whole season there. That's myself. And so when you have some of these injuries, and then the cup run that we had, I didn't realize how much of a toll it took on my back. And so, the last couple seasons, like, I was having, severe nerve issues, right, in my lower back where I couldn't feel my legs. And so, but so you just, that's one of those things, how resilient were you with your body? And the thing with Travis, I spent a lot of time with Travis training, and we were training buddies, and we'd warm up together on the road together. And so what I could tell you is that he was a consummate pro, like took care of himself. He was, always worrying about nutrition and, hydration and working out, recovery. Him and I were, kind of a little bit like biohackers, right? Just what was the newest trend? And so, because of that, he was just always wanting to get better. Even to this day, he wants to get better. He's working with skill coaches in the off season, working on, face off. He's a student of the game. And then just like I said, his character off the ice, like he never got himself into any drama off the ice either. Right. Just, so consummate pro on and off the ice, no distractions. And so that really helped him. And then on top of that, from a player's perspective, very important in the face-off circle, right? I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Is just for some of those stats that I've been digging up on him, and so very, just a great two-way center. And I always joked, like, you can't give Travis Zajac a bad pass. Like, he probably had some of the best hand-eye coordination of any player I played with. You just throw the puck at him. It could be 2 feet in the air, behind him, in his skates. Like, he'll just knock it down and keep going in stride. Like, just the hand-eye coordination was phenomenal. And that's, why I think he's, 53% in the face-off circle after over 16,000 face-offs. So, you need the hand-eye coordination. It needs to be elite. And so he had that skill set. And then, big frame, right? Big body, so it's 6'2". So, he was able to, be able to manage the grind in the first part of his career. And then, the evolution of the game, is doing really well for kind of his generation. It's less taxing on the body. But I think we're going to see, we'll say it's the Zajac era or the Crosby era, that age group, probably be the last guys that are going to play, in their late 30s, Greener and guys like that. Joe Thornton's an anomaly, and Yager as well. But the game's changing and it's getting younger, and it'll be really interesting to see, how many young kids, make it to 1,000.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a special number, and and you talk a lot about the young kids and kind of their importance to this team and how many roles they're filling. But one person that I feel like we haven't talked, I feel like that I should have talked to you more about is PK Subban. Now, PK Subban's kind of a different cat. We all know he's got a personality. He seems like he's great in the locker room. He's obviously good for promotion, social media, and the team's just promoting the Devils in general. And he's so good philanthropy wise. But when we're focusing on him on the ice, I think he's better this season. I think that's undoubtedly true. But I'm kind of curious what your assessment is. You've delved into so many numbers and so many things, and sometimes the numbers don't bear out with Subban. Sometimes they do. I'm just what's your assessment so far of PK Subban's season?
I like his season so far on the ice. It's quieter, right? It's not this kind of like just big, flashy, display, on display type of play that we saw last year. Just everything was like explosive and fast and, times maybe choppy, like the big wide, like just a lot of energy. I felt that, was in his game that I think hurt him. And I think this year, I'm a big, I'm a big component, I'm a big believer in it's just to have success on the ice. How are you managing your energy off the ice? And I think even just, I think he's toned it down just in terms of all the stuff that he's been doing off the ice. He's been more focused on the ice. That's just my observation. He could be doing a lot more, who knows? But I just think that, everything about PK is focused and more quiet. And we're seeing it. And block shots, he's leading the team this year. But same time last year, he had 12. This year he's got 20. And giveaways through 13 games last year, he had 17 giveaways. This year he's got 8. Right, so he's like I said, he's just quieter. He's got more takeaways this year. So I'm looking at some of the compete and some stuff like that. Block passes. He's at a higher rate this year. I talked about block shots. He's shooting more this year, 5-on-5. He's completing his passes better. Stretch passes, his completion there is at a higher rate. His outlet pass completions is also higher. His D-zone exit success rate is higher. His zone entry rate is it's about the same, a little bit lower. And then his O-zone possession time is the same. Those stats are all 5-on-5. But I think that some of the things, maybe some of the Corsi numbers and maybe some of those advanced numbers, may tell a different picture when I looked at some of those. But for me, he's getting more tougher assignments, right? Just the pairings and the assignments that he's playing against, and he's playing with a lot of different guys. But everything about his game is, I like it. It's shorthanded time. It's a little bit less shorthanded time than he did last year. Power play, same thing. He's a little bit less than when he was last year, but he's just as effective. And so when you see that, that's encouraging. So I like everything that I've seen from PK, and it was nice for him to get a big power play goal there, a nice blast, and when he's shooting, right, he's a threat. And if you could have him on the flanks on the power play, every now and then blasting a couple, and just get the shot through, and not always the big wind up all the time. And like I said, I think he's definitely better through 13 games than he was last year.
Bryce, before we let you go, I was on your website, Hockey Products and .com. Yeah, I frequent that website actually just to see some of the innovative products that are out there. One thing that caught my attention, and I've been meaning to ask you, that hockey skating treadmill. How was that developed, and have you ever skated on that treadmill at 18 miles an hour?
Very, very long time ago. That's a relationship that we have with a manufacturing company. They do treadmills and stuff like that. That part of the business, I'm involved in it, but very, very small. Not too much time to be actively involved in that when you're doing the double stuff, and I'm really actively involved in youth hockey. I coach my son, and then just in grassroots programming, and I think I think you guys might have saw that the Devils launched a whole new hockey academy and that platform. So I've been helping them out with that, and so that's kind of where I spend a lot of my time and focus. But just with different ventures, it's always been in hockey. So the company X Hockey, it's just one of those things that actually it was even around when I was in St. Louis. Just always had a passion for working with kids, training kids, helping, back to, I think it was in 2006-07, like the company then we were one of the first ones that were, building passers and stick handling aids and all that. We were way ahead of our time, but, there's us and another company that really kind of pioneered the whole evolution of off-ice hockey training. And, now all these kids are, doing hockey-specific training and facilities and all that. And in St. Louis, would never do it again. But one of my good friends, Jamal Mayers and Bear Jackman, like we had a year-round training facility, like, while we're playing. So it was just, that's how far back, youth hockey I go with, kind of in that development space. And so, like I said, it's just been one of those areas I've just really had a passion for.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, dryland exercises has come a long way and evolved in hockey in the last 25 years because it is so different from when I played it as a kid. There was none of this stuff around. Yeah. So, well, thank you, Bryce, for coming on. And
yeah, I mean, I just want to remind all the viewers, all the listeners, all the however you're ingesting this podcast right now, remember that I think the Devils have mostly 7 p.m. games. The game really starts at 6:30. That pregame show is invaluable. What Bryce and Erica do to break down the games every single or every other day at this point. They got you working overtime on this new schedule, Bryce, but you gotta catch that pregame show because it breaks down the game. It gives you things to look for. It gives you a different perspective to see the game. And Bryce has been working overtime. He's also working on Twitter at Bryce Salvador. Just type his name in. He'll interact with you. He'll talk with you. Some of the videos that he puts out breaking down exactly what happened on goals, what happened on goals against. It's invaluable. You got to use Bryce as a resource on the pregame and through his social media accounts. And I appreciate so much, Bryce, you coming on. You giving us some of your time, and you're a busy man, and you still you give us that time to talk directly to the Devils fans. So I always appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to you a little bit later in the season. Thanks so much, Bryce.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me, guys. I've always enjoyed coming on your guys' show. You guys are passionate fans. You guys do a great job. You guys are creating articles and podcasts and engaging with the fans. And so, like I said, we're all, a big community and a big family here. And, so it's enjoyable when, we're all able to connect in different ways, and all be part of the Devils.
They're nicer to you than they are to me, Bryce, but I think that's because you're a lot smarter than me. So,
not too funny, Nick. But no, guys. Like I said, don't sell yourself short, guys. You guys do a great job. You guys, like I said, it's you guys are passionate, and and so that's awesome, right? Whenever you guys enjoy talking about the fans, you guys are giving your time, energy, and effort, and so, like I said, it's. I commend you guys as well for just everything that you guys do, and like I said, it's just fun to talk Devils hockey, and especially this year through 13 games, it's generally been really a great experience watching the Devils.
Oh, I appreciate that, Bryce. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bryce.
All right, guys, have a great night. Yeah, talk to you later, Sam.
That is Bryce Salvador of MSG Networks, former Devils captain, giving us his analysis, his time. Good thing I didn't go into shenanigans because, there's been the inside joke of the podcast right now. It all started when Scotty and I, Devils postgame, we were doing our postgame podcast, and we noticed that Erica was rocking the red leather, and we knew that she was undefeated when she wears the red leather jacket. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, and that was against Buffalo on that Sunday. Ooh. And now we're just like, and then they play Buffalo on Saturday, and she wore something else, and we're like, oh no, like we texted each other, this is not good. So hopefully she goes back to the leather. It doesn't matter what color, just go back to the leather, and I'll feel good on Tuesday and Thursday. And we're already starting to take stats on that right now, which is kind of funny, actually. Inside joke of the podcast, the Sunday podcast.
Yeah, no, and I kind of noticed that too. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to jinx it. But you're out here with the Jinx Master 5000. Thanks, Sam. No, but honestly, I never watched the pregame show. I did every so often. I watch a lot of the postgame, but the pregame, it's I'm getting prepared for 3 hours of Devils hockey. Who needs the extra? But it's invaluable this year, this season. And I learned that last season. Last season was harder because the team sucked. It sucked. And it was nice to have Bryce telling me why they sucked. But it's so much better to have Bryce and Erica be like, this is what changed with Jack Hughes. This is why he's better. This is what Nico's going to bring to this team that they've already seen. This is what PK's doing differently that he wasn't doing this year, and that's why he's a positive contributor to this team. This is what Damon Severson's doing that makes him a now top-flight defenseman. By the way, Sam, I got an article coming out tomorrow on Damon Severson. I was floored by some of the numbers I saw. He's having a phenomenal season. He is having a phenomenal season. I know people still hate Severson.
I don't know why.
Newsflash: defensemen make mistakes. Every single one,
especially younger ones. That's how you. That's
Roman
how you
Josi makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Erik Karlsson's a sieve right now. Damon Severson is phenomenal. He's hitting his prime at the perfect time. He's the reason why Ty Smith is having the season that Ty Smith is having. Ty Smith was doing decently offensively with Matt Tennyson, but he was awful defensively. Now, them together are stopping shots. Ty Smith is a magician when it comes to stopping 2-on-1s, and I feel like the confidence that he has now playing with Severson in the top line role, they're both playing 19 to 22 minutes a game. The defense is pretty good now, Sam. I kind of like the defense. I like the depth. I like it when Murray's in. I need Murray in. When Murray's out, it looks a lot different, which makes me sad because I like Butcher, and I think there's a role for him here. It's just hard to find that role when you got Kulikov, who you need for the penalty kill, and then you got Smith and Murray there. It's just hard to find a spot for Butcher. Maybe they go 11-7. I don't know. It's hard. Lindy Ruff has a hard decision on his hands, but I got an article on Severson about how great his season is, and just looking at some of those numbers, that's coming out tomorrow. And I got a Ty Smith Calder Trophy update and why you missed the boat because you could have got Ty Smith for Calder at 40-1 before the season. It's now 5.5-1, but you got to still jump on it. I think Kaprizov is falling off a little bit, or did I say that right? I don't know. Maybe I didn't. But the guy, Kirill Kaprizov from Minnesota, I don't see Lincoln in Chicago keeping up this pace. He's having a nice season. If he does, then he probably deserves Rookie of the Year, but I don't think he's going to keep up that pace. And Ty Smith is the guy in New Jersey. He's the top defenseman on a decent defensive unit. So I think that he's got real Calder Trophy consideration. Just read the article tomorrow, guys. PucksandPitchforks.com. Watch the pregame show. MSG Networks, MSG Plus, with Bryce and Erica. It's at 6:30, right? Tomorrow's 7 o'clock game.
That is correct. Correct.
Buffalo tomorrow. Let's get a revenge on Buffalo. Let's hit Taylor Hall hard. Let's make him remember that what it's like to be a Devil.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be an exciting game. I can't wait. I think they're gonna win tomorrow. I think Blackwood gets back in there. I think they end the streak. You just gotta stay out of the box, Sam. You gotta stay out of the box. But we got another guest on Wednesday that's gonna be fun. He's somebody I gotta learn how to say his name, so I'm not gonna say it yet. But it's a fun guest. He's a guy who's been really doing a lot with analytics. I think it's another Bryce, ironically enough.
Okay.
Bryce Chevalier, I believe is his name. Okay. I'm going to apologize on Wednesday if I just said it wrong. Bryce Chevalier has been working with analytics, and he came on my radar over the summer because a lot of his analytics were positive to the Devils. So I'm excited to have him on, kind of talk about his charts and just where he's looking at and where the Devils look good, where the Devils look bad. And, it'll be fun.
That's great. I want to thank Bryce Salvador for coming on to the podcast. Tomorrow we'll have our Let's Go Devils podcast style post game. After the Devils game, we'll report tomorrow. Well, that's all for now. Great job, Nick. Let's
Thank you.
go Devils.